This meeting is now being recorded.
Good morning. I'm Angela Robinson. I'm a graduate of the College of Idaho. Presently, I'm a high school outreach consultant for Stephen Pinnaker College. I also teach guidance and counseling and ASCA classes for Boise State and Idaho State University. I'm very actively involved as a college rep for the Idaho Counselor Association, ASCA, and also I work very closely with the American School Counselor Association and have worked with the author of the national model. As you see on the slide, Dr. Judy Bowers was the co-author of the national model that was published in 2003 and updated in 2012. You may view this on book form or digitally. So the ASCA National Model is housed back in Washington, D.C. at Alexandria, Virginia. Okay. The impact of the model is, the major impact is it defines a standard and consistent role and identifies professional school counselors. Why we're recommending this model is that counselors are presently in the majority of our schools. Even in our rural schools in Idaho, there are counselors that have one or two different schools. The idea of a model is that it is a framework. The ASCA model is not an end-all, be-all. It's a framework. Therefore, it works for every school to give you a plan on what your counselors should be doing, and it's based on data and outcomes. We have master's level school counselors at most of our schools, and they all do have some training on the ASCA model. What is missing is many of them do not have training hands-on to implement it into their particular schools. That's the missing piece at this point as we see it in the state of Idaho. There's 4 components to the ASCA National Model, as you can see from the diamond, and the delivery component is the most important part. This is where 80 to 85% of the school counselor's time is recommended that it be spent in direct contact with all students. And here's the piece we really struggle with in our high schools, because the alphabet is split, but what is happening as we see it is all of the students are not getting the same message and the same verbiage as it relates to post-secondary. Another thing we are definitely seeing is that college does not begin your senior year as you go do college applications. College actually begins in the 8th grade. I like to say it begins in kindergarten, and with the ASCA model in elementary through 12, it actually does begin in kindergarten. But our focus is 8th grade through 12th grade, so that these counselors are not just career counselors. They work all components of the ASCA National Model. The ASCA model is evidence-based. Throughout it, we came together back in 2003. It started in the 90s, and we took the best practices and the evidence-based practices throughout the United States, and Idaho was very much a part of that because they did have a model at that time and created what is this framework. Again, and it's a built-in structure with 3 domains, and these domains are really important in that it's not just career and college focused, it's also focused academically and social emotionally. Click. This really explains that. So when we are in a career counseling situation in the 8th grade to the high schools, it's about finding the career interest, your interest inventories. It's about making your 4-year plan. But what we're hearing, and in fact I heard it last night again and again from the business people, is we're missing the soft skills. So I took these 5 soft skills: interpersonal skills, teamwork, problem solving, communication. These are absolute huge issues that are missing with our students as the business and the industry tells us. So we have counselors work with academia. They work to support career and college readiness, and they also work to support the soft skills, the social emotional. So actually, when you look at it, it's an absolute, it's a whole package that works together, that these counselors are all skilled. They bring all of those to the table to work with all students. This is just a quick piece to show you that direct services, what it includes. And indirect is more about referral, consultation, and collaboration with everyone. But primarily, our main focus is these kids need 80% of their time, of a counselor's time, working primarily in a classroom. And I realize that that can conflict with common core core standards, not necessarily Common Core, but core standards. But any time and every time a counselor is in a classroom, their lesson plan should align to the core standards to support that teacher, whether it's in oral communication or written communication, if it's in math standard, history standard, all of these standards can be met. So it's really not taking time out of the classroom, it's coming alongside the teachers in the classroom. So can you click? These mindsets and behaviors, ASCA has 35 mindsets and behaviors. And if you will go through these, instead of being redundant and look like there's just a bunch of them, what you'll notice is every one of these aligns directly to those domains of the social, emotional, and the career in college, and academia, the positive attitude toward working and learning, belief in your abilities to use their fullest to achieve high-quality results. And so those are the 5 mindsets. And these are a demonstration of the 30 behavior standards. As you'll notice, they're broken into 3 broad categories. As I was looking at them, I tried to break it down, like as to which ones may directly embrace college and career, and every single one of them does. So why I show you this is because going back to the core standards, when a counselor is doing a 30, 45-minute lesson, say twice a month or once a month in a classroom, they should be meeting at least 1 in every single category, and sometimes 2 or more in every single category on their lesson plans. So these are just kind of that base on it. Here's one of the most important parts, implementation and finances, as it refers to this $5 billion that's presently on the table for us. As the ASCA, which is the Idaho School Counseling Association, we are underneath the American School Counseling Association. And what we're looking at is what is working. And what is working is we see counselors in these high schools, and rather than buying a career and college counselor, which is one option for school districts that can, but the other option might be to let's go to number 2, and I'll give you an example. Using a portion of the school counselor's salary to focus on college and career readiness. A quick example of this would be, say the school counselor is being paid approximately $50,000, just to round it off. You take $25,000 out of that salary, and then so you have $25,000 to support what the counselor is presently doing, and then the other $25,000 of their salary would be brought on by the $5 million. This would allow half of that counselor's time to be spent at 80% of her time in direct contact with the students. And then maybe perhaps the $25,000 could be used to support someone to help with the scheduling or the registering and the other jobs that aren't necessarily master level counselor quote unquote duties. So anyway, what we're seeing in the state of Idaho presently is many school districts are now upgrading and doing trainings for their whole district of counselors. And in the rural districts, what we're doing in Eastern Oregon, in Eastern Idaho and Northern Idaho especially, is we're bringing, and rural down here in the Treasure Valley, we're bringing counselors together to give them a hands-on training to implement this ASCA national model. Being a part of ASCA and ASCA, there are webinars for CEUs on there with your membership for professional development, and they've made it very easy and it is doable. The pricing on the membership is very nominal. Further down, the counselors delivering the career and college lessons to all students. This goes back to the direct contact with all students, receiving the message. And again, I said all the lessons need to be aligned with a core standard, with results data and outcome data. And there are lessons through ASCA, through ISCA, and I'm going to give you another resource at the end of this presentation. Reporting the metrics. This is huge, as the American School Counselor Association is based totally on data. These are just some of the templates and suggestions that we highly recommend. closing the gap results reports, annual counselor-principal agreements. And these annual counselor-principal agreements are really an awesome tool to where the counselor and the administrators and the school board actually can sit down and say, what do we want this to look like? We can set our SMART goals that at the end of the year, students will be able to. And going down quarterly reports for administration, this is something I've found through the years of teaching ASCA that has really become optimum for school counselors' accountability and for administration to know what's going on. So quarterly reports to the administrator focus on what's going on, what do I see in the classroom, what do I see in small groups, how are the individuals handling this career and college application. What else we need for metrics would be the college application submissions. Those are easy to count. Here's one that all of us are looking for, follow-up after high school data. Because what we're seeing is they go off to community college, they go off to college, well, what's the graduation rate? And so this is a huge piece that we all in the state of Idaho need to follow up. Another piece that we see falling through the cracks is the annual monitoring of kids' four-year high school plan to get to their go-on target. They do these plans in in 8th grade, but these are the plans that the students themselves should be responsible. A counselor with 1,500 students in a school or counselors, there is no way they can meet every single student and go through and monitor their school year plan. But if you have a portion in a classroom to where the students are actually looking at their plan to see if they're on target, and the counselor is working as a facilitator along with the teacher, perhaps, you can actually go through this and see if they're on target or not. There's also an annual counselor evaluation that we have honed through years in many different states, and we've worked on that diligently here in Idaho, so that counselors are not evaluated on the teacher evaluation, because our job is totally different than what the teachers are doing. I put this in, and I'm going to give you my notes. The ASCA, there's a national award for schools that implement the ASCA national model, and I happen to be a reviewer for 10 years after 2004 for these awards throughout the United States, and I'm just happy to say and give a shout out. Valley View High School is the first high school that won the RAMP Award this year, and their counselor, Connie Binke, was recognized as one of the top 10 for counselors of the year, along with receiving the first award in the state of Idaho. This award is given out once a year at the national conference, and I just would love to see, or we as the Idaho State Association would just love to see as many schools as we can saying, yes, we're reaching all students. Yes, our students are going on. Look at our numbers. We're not 46th in the nation. We're 6th in the nation. And we know it can be done with a plan. Here's some contact information. I put my information up there because you're welcome to call me at any time. And I do work directly with these counselors in Idaho and in D.C. Here's the Idaho Counselor Association and the American School Counselor Association, and I want you to notice this one down at the bottom is lesson plans. This is a website that I created with Dr. Bowers at the end of a federal grant. It is a plethora of knowledge, information, forms, and lesson plans. There are 93 lesson plans that are all aligned with core standards, with standards from ASCA, with Bloom's taxonomy, with the NACAC, the career in college. There's lesson plans for K through 8, and there's lesson plans on to sophomores in high school. And those, the lesson plans deal with career and college readiness, and they also deal with the social emotional aspect of it. So it's a free website. We're hoping the ASCA counselors to own it one of these days soon, but you're very welcome to use it at any time. Thank you for considering us, and I hope we can all work together for the best of the Idaho students.